This is the Horse Radio Network.
After a year of ups and downs, the long-delayed Olympic Games will be here before you know it. Doug Payne stops by to give us an American team update, but not everybody has been able to ride through the pandemic. This week, we're also talking about headbutting. Thanks for tuning in. From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 88 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
Hey, guys.
Hello. So you're in Kentucky, right, Jess?
Yes, we have been here for a couple weeks, and we showed the first week. This past week we were showing, and it was like raining. We had more rain delays than I've ever had at a horse show. And then this week it's like beautiful weather. So it's been a lot of fun.
Probably a very different landscape than when you were in Kentucky last time, huh?
So I was like at the show office and like checking in, and I think everybody just like kept staring at me because they did a really good job this time at the show office. For the jumper shows, you checked in on the outside. So it was still very social distancing. You didn't go inside the building. Everybody stayed out. But the amount of people and the amount of like vendors and the amount of like everything is like quadruple doesn't even like do it. There are I think there's almost 1,800 horses here.
Wow.
And it's nuts. It's so big. They have hunters, they have jumpers, there's people everywhere. I mean, everybody's doing a great job. Like still, I mean, we're outside, and if you're not vaccinated, you do see some people like wearing masks and stuff, but I think the majority of people are like vaccinated, and it's outside, so it's pretty safe, but it is so crowded. It's unbelievable. So I just like took a step back and was like, looks a little different than like 6 weeks ago.
Wow. So Ellie, I wonder if we'll talk about this later, but Jess, I get this text from Ellie over the weekend, and it's just like, hey, I'm on my way to the ER. Do you have a minute for me to call?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like out with my husband. Like we just saw a movie. It was the first time I've been in a movie theater, by the way, in more than a year. But then I'm like, I have to take this call. And maybe we'll get into this later, Ellie. But yeah, it was pretty funny.
Will. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ellie's not having as good of a time as I am, is what you're saying.
Oh, I've got quite a big thorn in my quite literally.
Yeah, it's a good story. This episode is brought to you by Eagle Gold. If you haven't seen the latest Flip half pad mat, it now comes in white on white, and it is gorgeous. It comes with all the same shimmable impact protection Eagle Gold is known for, and it just has a beautiful new sleek look just in time for the summer show season. You could check them out for yourself by going to eaglegold.ca.
So I'm going to bring the drink this week. And since we're in Kentucky, I thought we had to do a Kentucky Mule, but I've been doing a bit of a spinoff on it. So since we've been in Lexington, we've gone to a couple different places and been able to try some really cool bourbons. And I've been doing a Kentucky Mule with a rye in it. And I've tried a couple really cool ones. I've tried the Wilderness Trail rye and the Basil Hayden rye and a couple different other ones. And I'll share it in the show notes and everything else. But they have been such a good kind of different twist on a Kentucky Mule. So what you do with it is you have 2 ounces of bourbon. And I've been doing the bourbon rye. And then you have half an ounce of lime juice, freshly squeezed. And then you have ginger beer. Some of the local restaurants here have had their like own house recipe for ginger beer. So they've been actually really, really good, some of them. And then you can actually garnish it with a mint sprig. And you just add the bourbon and the lime juice to a Moscow Mule cup, like the big copper cups, or highball glass. And you fill it with ice and top it with ginger beer. And then you can garnish it and you're all set. They've been so good.
That sounds really good.
It's
That's
really
like
good.
a really nice summer drink, like something with a little bit of a kick, you know?
Yeah. And it's, it's got a bit of the spice from the ginger beer and everything else. And so we've been trying different kind of ryes and stuff with it. And so it's been fun.
So I have a little joke for you guys. Don't laugh at me too much. But so, I think it's turned into like this big concept of Ellie can't make drinks. So I've been trying to really hard to like, make them actually look a little nicer. And Matt and I found this like huge mint bush in on our property, but it's in the road ditch, like right by the road. But so we've been using that to garnish our drinks. I mean, it's real mint. I guess it doesn't matter that it's in the road ditch, but
as long as you clean it. I mean, you do wash it off.
Matt goes out there and he's weed whacking, just like picking and eating mint from the road ditch. I'm like, oh my God, we look so trashy right now. I'm like harvesting mint from the road ditch. Don't mind me. So I'll have to try this and top it with my my roadside mint.
Road mint. Oh my gosh. All right, what do you guys got for news?
I can go first. So I am super excited to talk about this because Courtney had a bit of a take in it. So at Burley, she kind of has been talking to everybody about needing Grooms Association, and they do have the British Grooms Association, and she talks to all the grooms, but basically having grooms liaisons or people to talk to at different events. And so now the grooms get a long overdue recognition from the FEI, and they're actually going to start a new International Grooms Association. And so they basically put together this whole association that will be a big partake for the grooms and have a voice, and that they can have this. So how they can improve and basically keep them all informed. So I'm really excited that, she had a big partake in this and that they can really do a lot with it.
Aw, that's our Courtney, huh? I'm proud.
I know. She's but I mean, it takes a whole village, and everybody knows that. And so that now that they can basically be part of it and everything else, that they have had the British Grooms Association and everything else, but now it can go to the international level of being recognized by the FEI. I think that's so huge.
Absolutely. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So I found this really interesting article on the horse about headbutting, which I'm not going to lie, I'm totally guilty of letting my horses do this when they're young. And then I regret it later because I'm like, oh, look how cute it is. He's just headbutting me with his nose. And it's fine when they're as tall as your hip. But then when they get older and they do it in your chest and basically scoop dunk you, and it's very painful, it's not so funny anymore. So I found this interesting article which talked about first understanding the reasons why horses headbutt. And they kind of broke it down to two sections. Really realistically, yes, it could possibly be some of it's just cute and they're trying to just interact with us on a social level that makes sense to them. Horses headbutt each other, push each other all the time with their noses. So it could be that. But then they said the second scenario is also looking for kind of a sense of control and a sense of agency. So if a horse headbutts you and you step away, whether it's voluntarily or not, they're kind of getting us to move out of their space. So there's two kind of, different needs. Is it the social attachment and affection, or is it that need for agency? But they talked about either way that it's probably not the best behavior to have. But they said the best way really for them to get conditioned kind of out of headbutting is working on doing something else instead. So if they headbutt to say back and back them up instead, which I have been trying to do with Q because he's a big culprit of this, which he's not really a fan of. He's like, why can't I just headbutt you in the boobs like I always do? But I think it's really interesting. And I have noticed a difference just doing this for a couple of days with my horse. So I like the concept of giving the horse something else to do that's not pushing in our space. I think that safety reminder is something that we could always touch on,
Definitely.
What about you, Justine?
So I have an interesting story that is somewhat science-based, but it's maybe a little bit controversial too. So Equestrian Canada is introducing a pilot program where they're going to be measuring nosebands, and they're doing this with, horse welfare in mind. And basically they want to use what the data that they gather in this pilot program to work toward implementing a new rule that will basically ban nosebands that are too tight. So, I think there have been enough studies published that we know that, nosebands that are too tight cause harm to the horses. They can cause mouth ulcers and lesions on the lips and tongue. It could potentially make horses more vulnerable to like a depressed state. Actually, it can affect their breathing ability when they're working. So basically, this committee within Equestrian Canada is launching this pilot program where they want to basically measure nosebands and make sure that a noseband is not tight enough, like basically that you can put 2 adult fingers between the noseband and the frontal nasal plane of the horse, just to make sure that there is enough. I don't know if space is the right word, but like the noseband is not tight enough that it's that pressed to the horse's face, if that makes sense. And the goal again is to recommend implementation of a rule that would ban too tight nosebands. So this is a pretty big shift, right? You know, we've heard some of these things talked about in the past. Like I said, there's been some research done, but to actually implement a rule, I think one is great. Anything that helps protect the horse's health, I think is a good idea. And I like that they are doing this period of like a pilot project so that they can collect data and propose a rule that makes sense. So we'll see what they learn from this and like when they collect the results. But the pilot's going to take place with about 30 officials from Equestrian Canada at all levels of their sanctioned competitions across the country this year. And then I think they'll reevaluate from there. Yeah, they came up with like a little taper gauge, like a little plastic thing that they could slide under the noseband to kind of get a good read on if it's too tight or not.
Huh. I like that idea. I wonder how that'll play in with, a lot of the new, Micklem type bridles and the like crank nosebands. Be interesting to see.
Right. Like if there's a difference between styles, I'm curious to see that too. I think nosebands, you tend to see the tightness issue more in dressage. I don't know, Jess, you might be able to correct me, but I feel like that's where I see it most. Maybe in some eventing horses with cross country, but I feel like that's more of like a flash issue for breathing.
Yeah, it's more just the dressage that they're kind of concerned about.
Right. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see.
Just another shout out to everybody who has donated to us on Patreon. We really appreciate everybody who contributes, whether it's every once in a while or every month. It's great. And we love being able to hang out with you guys on our Facebook page and being able to talk and goof off on this podcast with you. So if you guys want to donate, go to patreon.com/heelsdown. That's patreon.com. So, Justine, I'm really jealous of you right now because you got to try the Smart Pack Eliza Field boots, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, and I'm happy to talk to you.
A little bit.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about them. So they couldn't have come at a better time because my current field boots, I'm like gluing together. Like literally just like a couple of weeks ago, I was like, wow, this is really falling apart. Let me glue this back together. So I was in the market for a new pair of field boots. And as someone who is tall and I'm quite long from like hip to ankle, like, when I have to compress myself in the saddle, I'm just long. So finding a pair of field boots that fit, that are not like outrageously expensive because they're a custom pair of boots, can be really tough for me. It's just something I've struggled with since I was like 14 years old and tall, So I tried the Eliza Tall boot, and I'm being completely honest, I was really impressed for the price, the quality of this boot. So what I liked most about them is they have a really great stretch panel in the back. And I'm not going to lie, I'm normally not a fan of stretch panels in boots because I don't like the look of it. I want all leather, I don't want to be able to see the stretch panel. But this one is very strategically placed and you can't see it when you're riding. But it makes a big difference just in like, I don't know if mobility is the right word, but like my ability to use my leg in like a new pair of boots, you know what I mean? Like it helped the boot feel almost more broken in.
Oh, okay.
Like it moved with my leg. Like I wasn't like stuck in this pair of like brand new boots that don't move. So what else I like about these boots is they have a memory foam footbed and it is crazy comfortable. And think about like how many hours we spend at the barn in tall boots, whether you're at the horse show or you're like in between horses, being on the wash rack. My feet are always sore just in wearing boots, paddock boots, tall boots. It doesn't matter because I just feel like most of them don't have a lot of support, and they don't really have a lot of room to put like an insole in there to give you more support. But these are insanely comfortable because of that memory foam that they have embedded in there. I feel like I could wear these boots all day. And I don't know if I could say that about any other pair of tall boots that I've ridden in before. So for the price, they're extremely durable. I feel like this is a pair of boots I could use all year long and not have to worry about them falling apart. If I had to have one critique, like I said, I have a hard time fitting boots to me because I have a long leg, and the Eliza tall boots don't have a tall option. So they come in a regular or a wide in terms of calf width, but they only come in a regular height. So I would love it if they came in a tall height, just because I have a long leg. But to be honest, the regular height, it actually fits my leg quite well too. So I'm not that concerned about it. And the Eliza tall field boot comes in 2 different colors. So if you've ever been drooling over a pair of brown boots like I have, they do have them available on their website. And again, you could find these boots by going to smartpackequine.com. They're the Eliza tall field boots, and we hope you check them out.
Hey guys, I'm super excited to introduce our next guest, Selena O'Hanlon. She is a longtime friend of the Canadian team as well. So Selena is a longstanding member of the Canadian eventing team and has so far represented in Canada at the Olympics, the World Games, and Pan Ams. And she's a lifelong equestrian competitor who's developed the ability to bring on different horses through the eventing level successfully. She's also a gifted clinician and coach, bringing her wealth of experience to every level she teaches. She's also a huge supporter of her community and donates her time to the Pony Club and eventing sport courses associated in her home base and community in Kingston, Ontario. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. So it has been such a crazy year, and everybody has been dealing with this whole pandemic. Totally different. Tell us a little bit, is Canada still closed down? Are you guys slowly starting to open up?
Just last Friday, they changed it a little bit so that we were allowed to, I think they ran a clinic in Ontario last weekend, and I was actually at Bromont in Quebec. They had a curfew and had been in lockdown for longer, so theirs was actually lifted. Therefore, they were allowed to run a kind of small Bromont. They didn't run the Bromont they had intended because we couldn't get the Americans across the border, but I was able to compete there. And then our first event won't be until July. Everything had to cancel because everything was so up in the air, and they kept extending the lockdown. And so even though a clinic ran last week in Ontario, the shows had already canceled previously for June. So we don't start competing in Ontario until July.
Man, that's crazy. So Selena, we have friends, Patricia De Silva's obviously in Canada. And I know different parts of the country have been under different lockdowns, right? So can you explain that? Like, just, are there certain areas that have been harder hit by the pandemic, and that's why they've been on these longer lockdowns, or how is that working?
I think they've struggled. I know they struggle in kind of the Mississauga, Brampton area near Toronto because of the airport. And
okay,
they were in the red zone and have been locked down since kind of November of last year. And Kingston did really, really well, except for, of course, the university students. A couple of them ruined it for us. And we had really low numbers, and we were able to go. We did have a brief period. I can't remember when, but we did have a brief period where patios were open. There's no in-house dining or anything like that. A lot of the stores were in lockdown originally, and you could only get curbside pickup for things like groceries and that sort of thing. But that has been lifted a little bit. And then Quebec had a curfew kind of in this early spring. They had a curfew and all sorts of things, and it actually helped them reopen a little bit earlier than us, I think. And then when we were doing well, and then when the new strain of COVID happened, the problem was the hospitals were just flooded with cases, and they didn't have enough beds. So that Ford said that I can't remember the special name for it, but the kind of lockdown where they're allowed to move you from a hospital without your permission kind of thing. was actually the only change for most people. Like in the Toronto area, nothing else had changed. You're allowed in-house dining in Quebec now. I don't think the patios have opened in Ontario yet for outside dining, but everything else is kind of getting back to normal, and we're allowed to do sports and recreation, and there's competitions and like soccer and all that sort of thing, but no spectators.
Interesting. I mean, that is just, I'm in Florida, and I'll just say, like, that is a world of difference. Like horse shows happened all year round this past year. But can you tell me, like, what did riders and horse owners do during this time? Like, for you, your clients, how did you guys kind of get through this?
When the original lockdown hit, I was in Florida in 2020, and I had to come home early. So I came home and because that's when everything was in total lockdown and you had to do curbside pickup and that sort of stuff. Riders weren't allowed to come to the barn and work the horses. So we were offering, exercising your horse for kind of 20 minutes or whatever. And then last summer, you were able to come to the barn to ride your horse, but we weren't allowed to do lessons. So then people had to keep all their equipment and stuff in their car or in their horse trailer because they couldn't they could come into the barn to get their horse and stuff, but we were actually having them tack up in the indoor arena. So they were spaced out, that sort of thing. And then they were able to ride outside. And then we went through a period where you could have lessons and that sort of thing. And that was kind of, we looked to our federations and Ontario Eventing and that sort of thing for guidance in terms of when we were allowed to start lessons. So then we started lessons back up. And then more recently, the OEA, I'm not sure what it's called now, said that you couldn't teach. And as of last Friday, you could teach. It's really complicated, and you kind of have to go with, our borders have been amazing throughout the whole thing. The most frustrating part was not being able to compete and not being able to go to Florida. It really set me back. Last year, I injured and dislocated and broke my ankle in an accident hitting a tree. And so it's almost been a year. So I luckily got to go to Bromont last weekend, which was fantastic. But that if I had left it till the first competition in July, which would have been Willowin, which was the site for the Pan American Games from 2015, that's where I broke my leg last August. So it would have been a whole year that I had not been able to compete. So we had to improvise. We did a course of online kind of clinics where we offered people, they could send in video of their rides, and then we would play the video back with them online and critique it and try and help them. But we also offered 6 every Saturday at 7, 6 times we did kind of a clinic, a demo. So they videoed me on different horses doing different movements, and we built on the theory each week. And my mom kind of went over what, describing and trying to educate people. And then at the end, we did like a Q&A with my mom and I both together. And people really, really, really enjoyed that. And it was also miserable weather anyway. And then when the next lockdown hit more recently, people asked us to do it again, but we just didn't put it together. It's quite time consuming. And now that it's warmer weather and we have, we were trying to get the horses fit because we didn't know the shows in June were going to be canceled. So we didn't do another series, but there was definitely requests for it. And then I was really appreciative of Mars because I got to watch Tryon, and I watched anything that was streamed, and I've been watching the events that have been streamed.
This affected, you said your borders were really great. How has this affected, upper level riders and Olympic team selection?
Well, for the upper level riders, I know that some of them went to Florida anyway, and that was just a kind of decision that you had to make on your own. And this being the first pandemic that we have lived through, we chose to stay home because I didn't have Foxwood High. He's retired now, so it didn't seem like a good idea to go. And I know that a lot of people went to, like Jess Phoenix didn't go this winter to Florida, but she went to Kentucky to compete to get, a run in and be seen by the selectors and that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm not sure how it went for other upper level riders who are kind of long listed. And then, Carl Slezak, he's based in Florida, so he was competing there, and Holly Jacks has a property there. So, many of the Canadian team members are actually based in America, so it didn't necessarily affect them as much as people like me.
So what's your future plan, Selena? Like now that things are slowly starting to open up, like what do you want to do? How are you keeping everything moving forward, knowing that this last year has been pretty hard?
I had big plans to go. Since I wasn't going to Florida, I thought to myself, I will go to Bruce Davidson's in Pennsylvania in May for a couple of weeks to use the hills because it's very flat where I live, and try and get the horses fit and ready so I could start competing as soon as the first show in Ontario was meant to start, which was the last weekend, actually the middle of May. We were going to start showing earlier this year, probably because of COVID and everything, but they had to go into lockdown instead. And I couldn't get across the border, and I couldn't take clients with me who would have liked to have gone with me. And, that helps fund your trip because you're trailering people and giving lessons and that sort of thing. So I couldn't go to Bruce Davidson's in Pennsylvania. So I went to a friend's farm near Toronto in kind of Caledon area, and it's real horse country, and there's lots of hills there. So for the month of May, I took 6 horses. Anne-Marie and I took 6 horses and 2 young riders. And it was easy for us because we were all based at the same farm. So there was, you're supposed to have a bubble, and you're not supposed to, travel and go to different places and that sort of thing. So the 2 young riders, one of them is doing school online, and it was easy for us because we all lived on the same property, so we weren't breaking any rules kind of thing. And we did get the horses out on some hills, so they were fit enough to go ahead and start with Bromont, even though I had to do the training level. So I wasn't able to upgrade the horses the way I wanted to. I would have liked to have gotten them going FEI to kind of newer, younger Irish horses that I have. And the most difficult thing has been I haven't been able to do any clinics. I do a lot of clinics all over North America, but I would have to quarantine. So I did do one in November last year in British Columbia, and I didn't have to quarantine coming back because I was in Canada. But then they were trying to book another one this year, and the Maritimes, I believe, still is kind of their own bubble. And if you fly there and then you want to come back, you have to do the 14-day quarantine, which I had to do when I came back from Florida. 14 days of doing nothing, no horse contact, no anything. Luckily, a lovely client of ours lent Anne-Marie and I her cottage, her beautiful cottage. So we didn't go stir crazy, but we were trapped inside for 14 days, and people delivered groceries to our door. So I can't afford to go through quarantine again. So I know that the border has said if we're considered essential workers because of the horses. So I think I probably could get around it somehow. However, now it's okay again to fly to BC, so I'm hoping to go out there and do a clinic. But I keep having all my friends and clients in America contact me every month to say, can you come and teach us yet? So that is severely taken its toll on my income.
Oh, God, I believe it.
We're just really happy to be able to compete again. It was great to get back out, and I look forward to July. Fingers crossed, the numbers are going down again. The cases are going down. The variant, made a big impact, and that seems to be settling down. And if you can compete, it makes it a little bit more worthwhile. It's just that because I have very little income because I'm not able to teach, the cost of obviously the competitions is a little difficult, but if things open back up, I'll be able to do my clinics and therefore get out there and get showing.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope things keep trending in the right direction for you, Selena. But we really appreciate you coming on the show and talking with us. Thank you.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. So we've replaced Jess with Doug. Surprise, just for now, because we had to catch up. Oh, I don't know if she'd agree with you, but
I know it.
We couldn't not talk to Doug. I mean, he's going to the Olympics. So we just wanted to get an update from you, Doug. How's it going? How's Quinn? What's the prep been like?
Well, first off, I'm going to say it's a definite downgrade here. But Quinn is doing great. We are at Split Rock right now, which is Split Rock Jumping Tour, which is in Lexington, Kentucky. And we jumped here last week and this. And so Quinn did the meter 30s. He actually won his class last week. He doesn't need to do a whole lot. So we just did the one day, he jumped really well, and we've just been trying to sort of refine the flat work. And the beautiful thing about Kentucky here, we had actually a ton of rain last week, so the footing's been perfect. So we've been able to do a couple gallops out here, and it's been exceptional.
So how old is Quinn?
We joke that he brings a walker to the ring, so he's 17.
Aw.
But I'll tell you what, he keeps getting better and better. Like, we've been lucky enough. Let's see, we've had him probably, I want to say 6 or 7 years. I'd have to look back and figure out exactly, but he's probably actually sounder, stronger, and better than he's ever been.
That's so cool. And so is he the oldest of the horses going over?
Oh, by a long shot. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would assume, right?
Yeah.
I would think he's got to be the oldest. And,
I was thinking that too.
And in our barn, he is absolutely the elder statesman.
Oh, good for him.
Oh, Doug, you're just going to pick on Quinn this whole time.
Oh, no, here's the thing. This is actually really funny. So I don't remember where we were. Somewhere I brought up the fact of his age and he's bringing the walker to the ring, but then he won, right? And then the girls, Courtney, obviously, this is like Courtney's, like, I don't even know how he'll end up retired with her, like sitting on her couch for sure. Right.
Aww.
So she's like, no, you can't be mean to him like this. Right. So that she's like super nice the next time. And then he had a rail or something. And then the next time we're like, oh no, we're definitely bringing the walker, and he goes and wins. So he really likes a little bit of that edge, and he certainly rises to the occasion.
Little taunt. Well, how often are you meeting and riding with the team right now?
So we're lucky enough. Peter Wild's been helping us jumping, and so he actually was here last week for 2 of the days. And Eric Devander was here. I mean, really, it's been really nice. We've probably had some sort of help from one of the coaches, probably near enough weekly since the teams were announced.
And what's the riding routine like leading up to the games?
Probably we keep it as regular and consistent as possible, because what we've done leading up to here has clearly worked, and not that we can't get better, but I don't think there's any need to do any sort of drastic changes. So after Kentucky, we're just ramping back up as far as fitness goes. We do a lot we try and take advantage of these bigger shows, jumper shows, because I think it's super helpful to be in a chaotic big atmosphere, because clearly he's going to be right dead smack in the middle of it, in a few weeks. And so we try and make the most of it and, see what we can do.
Very cool. So you've obviously traveled overseas with the horses before. Do you have any important tips or anything I remember one time Jess told us, don't put your back on tracks on the horses because they take the boots off.
Oh, yeah. And they'll be gone. We're lucky enough now. Quinn has gone over a good handful of times. The thing that we found, generally speaking, the horses actually fly really well. We try to keep them as hydrated as possible. But in many ways, they're used to being on the road a lot, and frankly, flying's a bit easier. I mean, certainly takeoff and landing can be a little bit uncomfortable, but frankly, once they're in cruise flight, then it's actually quite a lot easier on them than driving might be. So they really do handle it pretty well. We try to get them out as much as possible. Sort of even say here, we're at Kentucky, obviously for a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And try to obviously hand graze and, get them out, keep their legs moving, and do as much hacking as we can. And the same thing, once they travel over there, they're going to get a chance to do the same. But, with horses that are on the road as much as they are, if they have a sort of consistent group of people and you keep their conditions as best you can, as normal as possible, they really do handle it really well.
Interesting. That's great. Yeah. So what else? What else is going on? I mean, are you enjoying the new farm? It looks beautiful.
Oh my God. Yeah. The farm is amazing. It's, best way to describe it is like the worst CrossFit boot camp ever. I mean, I think our bodies are more sore from lifting and moving and cutting and doing whatever it might be to get everything up and running, but have the opportunity to have it your own. And I think it's going to be an incredible place to develop horses in the future, because we've already got far more than we've ever been able to do in the past at places we've been renting and that sort of thing. So being able to sort of design and build exactly what you want to maximize the time we have to spend with them, it's been great. So I love the area. We can't really say anything bad about it, obviously, except for our overall body soreness for sure.
That's awesome. Well, Doug, we appreciate you joining us for a few minutes, but I think it's time to bring Jess back.
Absolutely. No worries at all.
You came, you rode, and you maybe stayed on. The Heels Down Horse Show Hangover Kit helps you get your last class on Sunday back to work on Monday feeling refreshed. Pick yourself up one as a gift at your local tack shop or in the Heels Down shop.
So it's Rose and Thorn time. And Ellie, do you want to go first?
Oh, no. I'm saving mine for last.
Best for last? All right. I think, Justine, you're up then.
All right. So I guess my rose will be, I bought a shad belly, my first ever shad belly.
Yes.
Oh, that's exciting.
Shads.
It's exciting and also like nerve wracking, because when it arrived, I was like, oh man, this is really happening. Like, I got to go do this now. So hopefully it goes well.
You're going to rock it. Like you feel like the coolest, like, concert pianist when you wear shad. Like, trust me. When you walk shad, you hear music. That sounded really weird, but it's cool. Okay.
I put it on and Alex is like, what is that?
Looks like you're going to like a men's like thing. And he's like totally confused.
I
like
know.
Tails.
I know. So I'm excited to wear it for once in my life, but yeah.
Are you doing a derby?
Yeah, I paid all the money and I'm going to WEC and I'm doing the derby.
Nice.
In the AC?
In the AC, yeah. All indoors. It's going to be great.
That's a dream right there. You're not even going to sweat in the shad.
Well, it's still pretty heavy, but yeah. Yeah. No, I'm excited. Like I'm paying all the money. I'm doing the real thing, man. So for just this one time to say I did it, I think. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited. So that's my rose. My thorn. Oh, what's my thorn? I feel like I had one, Ellie, and I had it like logged in my brain, and I was like, I got to tell Ellie this so I don't forget. And then I didn't tell you. So of course now I forgot. So you guys keep going and I'll think about my thorn at the end of this.
Well, I couldn't think of my rose because I was like, I had a good one. And it honestly is that we've talked about Kentucky so much. We've had so much fun.
Aww.
Normally we like stay up by the horse park and everything else, and we don't do much. And this time, like, we've been here, we're here for like almost 2 weeks, almost 2 full weeks. So it's been so fun to like go actually like venture into like Lexington and like see what it has to offer. And we've had some really good food and really good like tasting bourbons and just fun places. And like we've gone to places we've never been to. It's like been a lot of fun because we rented a house right near downtown, but it's like been really easy to get to the horse show. So it's like best of both worlds. So I guess that's like basically my rose, is that we've been able to like do other things and be in Kentucky and be able to show, because the Split Rock show is so much fun. So even though there's a ton of horses and it's been long days, it's a really, really well put together show. So we've had a lot of fun. But then my thorn would be, I'm so mad. So my thorn is definitely today. So my horse came up. I didn't show last week, and he stayed at home and got ridden by Olivia and the girls, which was great. And so I showed him today, and I took him into the 15s, and I wasn't like my first jump was okay. It wasn't great. But then I like was doing a short rollback, and I made way too short of a rollback essentially. And I saw the perfect distance to the purple jump. but I was supposed to be jumping the blue jump next to it.
Oh, no.
So, no, my poor horse, it gets worse. I realized the last minute and just pull him out, like, full right. And he's like, oh my God, we were fine. And I was like, yeah, man, that wasn't the right jump though. So then I circle and I finished the course. And it was actually like, he was so rideable and it was a really good course. And I went clean, except for the fact I tried to jump the wrong jump and had to circle. So annoyed because I don't know the last time I've done that. So that was pretty.
Well, we all do that. We all do that.
Oh,
you gotta give yourself a break. Yeah.
Oh, I know. It was just more annoying that, like, if I'd had like 4 down and I had a circle, like, well, that wasn't going to be great anyways.
But at least you didn't jump the wrong jump, right? So
exactly. No, and I was going to jump it backwards.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
So they were right next to each other, and like one was purple and one was blue, and I was supposed to stay out and jump the blue line, and didn't. I turned in and I like locked in, and last minute was like, oh my goodness. And so I came out of the turn, saw perfect distance, and then just pulled hard right because I was like, I'm going to jump it backwards because that's not my jump. So then I circled and kept going, and yeah, so annoying though. So, well, good news is I'm at a jumper show to get to go again in 2 days. So.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So that's definitely my thorn. So annoying.
All right, Ellie, I have my thorn.
We've been okay. You do yours first before Ellie.
Before we get the big reveal from Ellie.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So mine, you reminded me. I went to a horse show last weekend, Jess, and it was not good. So I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't like terrible, but it just wasn't. It just reminded me of like, yeah, my horse was off for a long time, and it was our first time showing the hunters again since January, and I used this horse show as a prep event for WEC. And it just shows that we got a lot of work to do in a month, you know? So not that anything was like overly terrible, but you know, with the hunters, like you just like, we got a lot of things to polish up, like little things, you know what I mean? Like don't give stuff away without, you know, like the little things that I can't clean up. So there's a lot of transition work in my future is all I gotta say.
Apparently, I just need to learn to count or see the colors. Apparently, I don't know the difference in purple and blue. So,
were they like yelling at you, like, "No, blue jump"?
No, they just thought I was coming to this awful like slice to the blue jump, and I was like, I wasn't even close to coming to the blue jump. Like I had to pull right because the purple was on the right and the blue was on the left. And they thought I was just slicing it right to left. And I was like, it's a line. Like I was going on a straight line to fence 3. So like I wouldn't slice it because then I wouldn't have made it to 3. So they just like thought, oh my gosh, she's making this like really awkward like line to this jump. No, I was lined up for the wrong jump, man. Like I was on a jump, just not the correct one. So
oh my gosh.
So no, then I pulled out and they realized what I was doing. They're like, wow, I thought you were going to be on like this awful slice to your jump. And like, that's an inside turn. And I was like, no, not even close.
Got it. All right, Allie, let's hear it.
Okay. So we have this thing in my family that we joke about. We call it the Woznicka curse. And it's a real thing. And it always happens in 3s. So my birthday was last week and I turned 25, which is scary for me, but I know you guys were probably like, oh yeah, 25 is no big deal, but it's freaky, you know, to be like a quarter of a century old and you still feel like you're 13, you know.
25 is a great year. Enjoy it.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking was going to be. I was like, this is great. We're going to start it at a horse show. This will be fun. I was wrong. So
I was wrong.
That's amazing.
First, I warm up my friend's, one of my clients and my friend, her spotted draft horse, and somebody's lunging, and she was abused real bad, so she heard a whip crack, and I was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. And she bucked real high, and I came off, like I just kind of bailed. I was like, I'm just going to bail. So I didn't like hurt myself or anything, but I was like, oh boy, you know, and she was really freaked out. So, you know, I walked around a bit before I got back on. Okay, so that was the first one of the 3.
Oh, this is all one day?
Yeah.
No, it's like in the span of like 4 days. Yeah.
Over the course of the horse show?
Oh yes. So that started. That was the day before my birthday. Then I get home and Batman was a little off and stuff, so I had him come out for a lameness exam. And we did stifle injections last year, and we did Adequan, and he said, let's try the Hox, and then if that still doesn't cut it, then we might have to do like yearly Adequan. And so I said, okay. So he got his Hox done on Monday. So he's inside and got hand walked, and then I finally got to ride him on Thursday, and he was super sound. He felt awesome. I was so excited. My mom got me a new back cinch for my birthday. I was like, yeah, we're gonna go show. Like, this will be awesome. So, but then he gets turned out on Thursday night, and he comes in. His foot is covered in blood, and I'm like, oh no. And it's really swollen, and I see this slice, and at first, I don't think it's that bad. I'm like, it's a lot of blood, but maybe the slice isn't that bad. And then I start cleaning it, and I kind of look, and I'm like, oh, that's really deep.
Oh, no.
So he got a slice on his pastern, about 6 centimeters, that went all the way down to the bone. So I had the vet come out, and she patched it up enough, but I had to take him to Cornell because I wanted to make sure no joint.
Wow. Okay.
Of the pastern joint or the fetlock, because it was right in the middle. So if the cut had gone up or down, it kind of could have gotten into joint interference. Thankfully, it was like super straight, not a big deal. We got him stitched up. He's on stall rest for 2 weeks. I have to keep wrapping him. But like, out of all of the outcomes, best one.
For sure.
There's the second. The third one, which is the one I was talking about in the beginning of the show, was that I go to ride this like 4-year-old horse that a client wants to take to a show this past weekend. And I get on it, and I kid you not, I maybe went like 4 steps. Like, we were in the outdoor, 4 steps. She rears straight up to the point that my bra gets hooked on the saddle horn. So now this is great. She comes down, breaks my bra. Mind you, I'm wearing a $50 Victoria's Secret bra. So now I'm pissed, right? I'm like, you son of a jerk. And I'm not small chested. So my bra breaks. Okay. This horse is crow hopping, bronking. There are boobs flying everywhere. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me right now. And then to top it off, she bucked so hard, and we had a Basel on her with Makati reins, and the rein went right through my hand so fast. I got this serious rope burn on my hand.
Oh.
And so she tries to exit the ring, and she's still crow hopping this whole time.
Oh my gosh.
She turned right and got me off, and I fell right on a pile of rocks. I don't know who has a pile of rocks in the corner of their outdoor arena, but in any case, fell right down. And usually I pop right back up, but I was like, I just need a minute. So my butt was really hurting. I have no bra. I'm basically braless. And I get back on. It's fine. Luckily, somebody had an extra bra in their car. I was like, does anyone have any vet wrap or something? Because like, it's my only bra. And I got back on, but then oh my God, I came home and I was like, Matt, like, I really I've fallen off plenty. I was like, but this one really doesn't feel right. Like, cause I can't feel like my butt cheek. So, like if I touch, like, just like, not even like if you poke it, I can feel it. But like, if you just like, if you put your hand on my butt cheek, which please don't put your hand on my butt cheek, I can't like feel it the same way. And so Matt's dad's a doctor. So I called him, and he was like, yeah, you should probably get an x-ray. And I'm like, oh, great. So I got to spend the night in the ER because I thought I broke my butt, and I still can't feel my butt cheek.
Oh,
but the doctor's clear to you, right? Like, you're okay. You're just real sore, right?
Yeah. But here's the worst part, Justine, that I didn't tell you. Don't laugh at me.
Oh.
I'm in the x-ray machine. Okay. And they must have been talking about somebody else, but I thought they were talking about me. I hear, oh yeah, she's definitely pregnant. And I'm like,
What?
First
What?
And I'm freaking out, right? Because they ask you, like, are you pregnant? I'm like, no, blah, blah, blah. And then they're talking about this. And I'm like, so here I am alone in the ER because Matt has to get hay up before it rains. And I'm like, oh my God, am I pregnant? And then I'm freaking out. I'm like, I've been drinking. I haven't been taking prenatal vitamins. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
I'm freaking out. So then the doctor comes in and he's like, oh, good news is, nothing's broken. And I'm like, and he's like, and you should take Advil for the pain. And I said, and he said, and ice it? Like, he was confused.
Trying to find something else to say.
So I'm not pregnant, but I was basically crapping my pants because I'm like, oh man, I have a broken butt and
I'm pregnant.
I'm broke. And I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
So yeah. So hopefully that was the end of my 3. And maybe
now you should be done. Yeah.
But again.
All right, guys. So we have a question from Sarah in our Facebook group. She wants to know what our thoughts are on those padded ergonomic bridles. Not necessarily the Micklem ones, but the ones that are like padded. They have the padded shaped crown for the ears and a padded noseband. So I think they're like, those anatomical bridles is what she's talking about. So Sarah is curious because her horse has a very itchy face and he can also be kind of tight in the poll. So she's wondering if a bridle of this style would be more comfortable for him. Would it be worth it? Because they can be kind of pricey too. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Ellie, do you have thoughts?
So I guess I didn't get one for this reason. But I have what they call it. It's a physio bridle from Barefoot Leather. I don't use the noseband because I use it with my hackamore. But it's one that I liked it because it has this kind of drop throat latch. So I didn't have to worry about the martingale getting, in his eye when it used the shank. But in terms of, I don't know if itching would really help. Like the pole stuff, I imagine it would, having like a thicker crown piece and just kind of making the pressure points different.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure that the itchy face will really help. You could try potentially not using a nose band or brow band and seeing if that helps with the itching. But I think you'd have to probably, I think you'd have to change like your leather cleaner in order to see that difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I have a horse that is seasonally itchy, like this time of year when he sweats on his face, and he will rub in any bridle. It doesn't matter what type of bridle. But I have one of those anatomical bridles too, and I do like them. My horse has a big head for his body, and he's kind of like boxy. So I will say that while I thought the design of the thicker noseband was nice, I took it off. So I used like the majority of the head stall, but I swapped out the noseband because it was chronically crooked on his face all the time, and like no matter what I did. So it just it didn't fit totally correctly. But I know a lot of people who are into those style of bridles and say that they do wonders for like softness just generally in their horses. And if you have a horse that has some pull pressure, a lot of them have different designs that kind of like sit back behind the ears in a different way to apply pressure in other places. So I can't imagine it's not worth trying, It's just if you want to pay the money to try, I guess. But I agree with you, Ellie. I'm not sure it's going to fix the itchy face. I don't think a piece of tack is going to I don't think it's going to alleviate anything for you in that way. Jess, what do you think?
No, I think that honestly, he's got an itchy face and stuff that I would make sure to really clean his face with either there's those sponges that have that soft side and a little bit of the scrubby side and really itch his face and scratch it for him and really get it clean, and even a little bit of soap and stuff, like a mild ivory soap or something, just to make sure he doesn't have any dandruff or his face isn't itchy in itself. But then, yeah, I'm not sure if the, ergonomic bridle would help. I mean, it'd be worth looking into. And my advice would be to see if you can borrow one and see if it works.
That's a good idea.
I really try for our clients and stuff is if they want to do something. I've never personally used one, but there's so many tack that I haven't used type thing. But I try to like give one something, let somebody borrow it or borrow it for myself to see if that's kind of what I like. Use it for a little bit and then make sure you take care of it and all that, and then do the same, pay it forward. Maybe if somebody needs to borrow tack or whatever else, I really try to like have everybody kind of swapping so that people can try things before they actually have to buy it, because tack's expensive. So I try to like have it all get used first.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. Speaking of that, those kinetic dermacloth that I did those videos on, I use those on horses that have itchy faces, because it's nice because you don't have to worry about like washing the soap off.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those are great for hot spots. So that would be another option, to maybe do that and do that after you ride, and just making sure you're getting all that sweat off.
That's a good idea. So if you have a question for us and you want us to answer it on air, you can always send us an email at hello@heelsdownmedia.com. And if you want to hear more from us, you should subscribe to the Heels Down Spark. You can do that by going to bit.ly/spark-by-HD. And you should join our Facebook group, the Heels Down Happy Hour Podcast Lounge. We want to say thank you to our sponsors this week. That's Eco Gold, Smart Pack, and Soap for Dirty Equestrians. All right, guys, that's a wrap.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to me not being pregnant.
Cheers to you not being pregnant. Jesus.